Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, my dear students. Today we are going to do the fourth most important disease in the COPD or the obstructive diseases, and that is the bronchiectasis. Bronchiectasis, if we are going to talk about bronchiectasis is a disease which is characterized by the permanent dilatation. So this word is very important, as you all know that yesterday we have done the asthma, and in asthma we have discussed that it is a reversible bronchoconstriction, but in bronchiectasis there is a permanent dilatation of the bronchi and the bronchioles, and this is caused by the destruction of the muscles and the elastic tissues because of the associated chronic necrotizing infections. So if we want to summarize in its definition of bronchiectasis, because of some chronic necrotizing infections like TB or anything else, there will be the inflammatory reactions, and as you all know that because of the inflammatory reaction there will be the release of the mediators, and because of the release of the mediators there will be the potential this site will be the potential candidate for the inflammatory cascade, and because there is an inflammatory cascade there is a release of the elastases, there is the release of the proteases, and because of all of this destruction there is a permanent dilatation of the bronchi and the bronchioles. So the only difference between the bronchiectasis and the emphysema is that in emphysema there was a permanent destruction in the alveolar region, while in the bronchiectasis there is a permanent dilatation of the bronchi and the bronchioles because of some necrotizing infection. So what are the predisposing factors which lead to the development of the bronchiectasis? The most important ones are the congenital or the hereditary, and the most important is the cystic fibrosis. Then comes intralobular sequestrations of the lungs, immune deficiency states, primary ciliary dyskinesia. We have already talked about primary ciliary dyskinesia and Cartagena syndrome because there is a problem in the ciliary structure, there is a problem in the motility of the cilia, or there is an absence of the cilia, and because of this they can't remove the foreign bodies, they can't remove the mucus outside, so there will be the stasis, there will be the, and wherever there is a stasis there is a production of the inflammatory reaction, and because of this inflammatory reaction there will be the necrotizing inflammatory reaction, and it will cause the destruction of the bronchi and the bronchioles. Then post-infectious, after any infections like necrotizing pneumonia, which is going to be caused by bacteria, like I've just told you, the most important cause in third world countries and especially nowadays patients with AIDS is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, then Staph aureus, Haemophilus influenzae, and Pseudomonas. These are all the major contributors for the pneumonias. Then virus, adenovirus, influenza virus, immunodeficiency virus, and in fungus we are having the aspergillus. Then there comes the bronchial obstruction. I've just told you, whenever there is any obstruction, it could be because of the tumor, it could be because of the foreign body, or it could be because of the mucus impaction. So it is going to cause stasis, and because of the stasis there will be the inflammation. Then comes other conditions. In other conditions we are having basically all the conditions which are related with some immune problems. So we are having the rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus erythematosus or SLE, inflammatory bowel diseases like Crohn's or it could happen in the post-transplantations of the kidney or the liver. Then comes the pathogenesis of the bronchiectasis, that how it is going to develop. We have just talked about the major two contributing or the predisposing conditions, and these are the first one is your obstruction and second one is the infection. So whenever these are the major pathogenic or predisposing conditions, whenever there is an obstruction As I have already told you, the normal furring mechanism is going to be impaired. So there is a pooling of the secretions distal to the obstruction. So there will be, whenever there is a stasis, there is an inflammation of the airway. So severe infection of the bronchi are going to lead to the inflammation, and this inflammation can lead into the death in form of necrosis, healing in the form of fibrosis. So whatever, whether there is a necrosis, whether there is a fibrosis, there is a destruction of the elastic component, there is a destruction of the muscle component. So eventual result will be the dilatation of the airways. If you can see on the gross morphology, the bronchiectasis is going to affect the lower lobes bilaterally. So lower lobes will be more commonly affected, and the tumors or the aspiration of the foreign bodies can lead into the bronchiectasis, and in this condition only that part of the segment is involved where there is an obstruction. So distal to the obstruction, that part will be involved. So if we are going to talk about the morphology, and we are going to see under the microscope, there are the inflammatory cells, and both of the cells lineage can be seen. You can have acute inflammatory cells like neutrophils, and you can have chronic inflammatory cells like lymphocytes, like macrophages in the walls of the bronchi and the bronchioles. And because there is an inflammation, there is a desquamation or the destruction of the lining epithelium, and there is a necrotizing ulceration there. There may be the pseudo-certification because of the metaplastic reaction in the columnar cells, or the squamous metaplasia can be seen. Then necrosis can completely destroy the bronchial or bronchial tract, and it can form the lung abscess. This is the major complication of the bronchiectasis. Just remember this thing. And this lung abscess patient can present with you with a foul smelling discharge. This is the most important MCQ and essay you can have, because you are being given the scenario of the bronchiectasis, and in this scenario you have been asked that this patient is presenting with the greenish color sputum, and along with the greenish color, this is the sputum is the foul smelling. So for today's your assignment is you have to tell me about the predisposing conditions of the bronchiectasis and one major complication of the bronchiectasis. Then comes fibrosis of the bronchial and the bronchiolar walls, and the peribronchial fibrosis, leading to the various degrees of the subtotal or total obliterations of the lumen. And this obliteration of the lumen is because of the fibrosis. Whenever there is a loss of the elastic tissue, whenever there is a loss of the contractile element in your bronchi and the bronchioles, that is your smooth muscle cells, and it has been replaced with the fibrotic element, then there will be the obstruction. So as far as how the patient is going to present you, I have just told you that the patient is going to present you with a severe persistent cough. It has a foul smelling or the bloody sputum. Patient has a dyspnea or orthopnea, and it is going to present with the hemoptysis because there is a necrotizing inflammation is going on. There is an abscess is going to be formed, and there is a desquamation. So everything is coming out of the sputum because of the ulceration. Blood is coming in the sputum. So the patient is going to present with the hemoptysis. If we are going to talk about obstructive respiratory insufficiency, it can lead to marked dyspnea and the cyanosis because of the obstruction of the bronchi and the bronchioles, because of the, I've just told you about, because of the replacement of the elastic normal component with the fibrotic component. Then the complications that we have just talked about are the copulmonal brain abscess. This can go into the brain area, and amyloidosis. Whenever there is a chronic necrotizing inflammation, amyloidosis is the thing that can happen there. So these are the major complications. I've just told you, you have to tell me about the predisposing conditions and the complications of the bronchiectasis when you are marking your attendance. So this is your assignment for today also. Just remember this thing, because whenever you are going to give me the assignment, you're just doing the copy paste. So don't do this thing, do it by yourself. As far as the syndromes which are concerned with the bronchiectasis are, I have just told you, in the congenital forms we have cystic fibrosis, because there is an excessive mucus formation in the cystic fibrosis, so there will be no clearing, and whenever there is an obstruction because of the excessive mucus production or thick mucus production in the cystic fibrosis, then there will be the bronchiectasis. Then we have primary ciliary dyskinesia, we have Cartagena syndrome, and it could be allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis. This is very common. This aspergillosis is very common in northern areas of Pakistan, and especially in Afghanistan. These things are very important. Now, this is the end of the bronchiectasis. Now we are going to start with the restrictive diseases. We have finished the obstructive diseases. We have done with you people asthma, we have done emphysema, we have done the bronchiectasis just now, we have done the chronic bronchitis. These are very, very important as far as your examination is concerned, or as far as your clinical practice is concerned as a doctor. So today we are going to start with the new thing, and that is the restrictive diseases. So these are, I have just told you, restriction means there is some restriction to the normal breathing, and this restriction is predominantly characterized by the inflammation and fibrosis of the pulmonary connective tissue. And because of the fibrosis of the pulmonary connective tissue, there is it is going to lose the capability of the contraction and relaxation. So the principally the most peripheral delicate institution of the alveolar wall is going to be the main features of the destruction. Patient is going to present you with the dyspnea, tachypnea, and inspiratory crackles, and in the end it could have a cyanosis without wheeze or with wheeze, or without the evidence of any airway obstruction. So there is no airway obstruction. It is all because of some restriction in the lung parenchyma. The classical physiological features are reduction in the carbon monoxide diffusing capacity, decrease in the total lung volume, and compliance. We have just talked about that your lungs can't expand because of some fibrosis, because of some interstitial pneumonitis or anything like that. So when they can't expand, so your total lung capacity, TLC, will be dropped. So the chest radiograph is going to show you the bilateral infiltrative lesions in the form of small nodules, irregular lines, or ground glass shadows. The complications could be secondary pulmonary hypertension or right-sided heart failure with cor pulmonale, and this patient can end with the NCH or honeycomb lung. Honeycomb lung is the most important indication of the restrictive diseases, and normally whenever you have been asked in the MCQs or in your SCQs, okay, what is the appearance of the restrictive disease, then the answer will be the honeycomb lungs. So classification of the chronic, diffuse, interstitial, restrictive diseases will be, first of all, we are going to talk about fibrosing, and in fibrosing we are, the most important one are the interstitial pneumonia, which is having the idiopathic or pulmonary fibrosis, non-specific interstitial pneumonia, cryptogenic organizing pneumonia. It could be associated with connective tissue diseases, pneumoconiasis, drug reactions, or radiation pneumonitis. So anything which is going to cause the fibrosis in the lung, whether it is an inflammatory condition because of any other because of reasons of pneumonia or anything like that, then it is going to fall into the category of fibrosing restrictive diseases. Then we have a granulomatous diseases. In granulomatous disease, the most important one is the sarcoidosis, and then comes your hypersensitivity pneumonitis. Because of any allergic element, this can happen. Then we have eosinophilic restrictive diseases. Then we have squamous smoking related diseases, in which we have the most common one is the desquamative interstitial pneumonia, and this is the smoking related, can accompanied with the obstructive diseases also, like with COPD. We have just talked about that element. Respiratory bronchiolitis associated with the interstitial lung diseases. Then the last one is the pulmonary alveolar proteinosis. First of all, we are going to discuss the fibrosing conditions. And the fibrosing condition, I've just told you that idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis is the most important one. And in this patient, it can begin insidiously or with the increasing dyspnea. Patient is going to present you with the increasing dyspnea on exertion. Patient is having a dry cough, while hypoxemia, cyanosis, and clubbing is going to develop later in the later course. So the first of all, the presentation will only be the dyspnea and the dry cough. Most patients are in the age of 40 to 70 years old at the time of presentation. So what is the pathogenesis of this pulmonary fibrosis? Just remember this thing: anything that is going to cause epithelial activation or there is an injury. As you know, whenever there is an epithelial injury, it is going to release the TGF beta. So whenever there is a release of the TGF beta, what is going to happen? The TGF beta is going to cause the healing process. So TGF beta is going to cause the healing, and it is going to activate the fibroblast and the myofibroblast, and there will be the deposition of the collagen and the extracellular matrix, and this is going to result into the pulmonary fibrosis. So TGF beta can do one other thing also, that it is going to cause the reduced telomerase. So telomerase, whenever there is a reduced telomerase, there will be the telomere shortening, and whenever there is a telomere shortening, there will be the early death of the cells. So there will be the census and the apoptosis. So due to the apoptosis, there is more epithelial activation and there will be the more TGF beta release. So there will be the inhibition. TGF beta is going to inhibit the cabelin in the fibroblast. So this is going to this is not going to work, which is causing the degradation. So all the things are going in the form of the fibrosis. So the main component in the pulmonary fibrosis is the TGF beta. Here you can see that whole of your lung has been replaced with the fibrotic element, and here you can see the honeycombing appearance also. But here you are having the fibrotic element, here again fibrosis. So whole of your lung has been replaced with the fibrosis and the inflammatory. These are your inflammatory cells, lot of inflammatory cells, but these are the acute ones also and the chronic ones also. So here if you can see here, there is inflammation is going on, lots of inflammation, there is a congestion going on, and here there is a fibrosis underneath it, there is a fibrosis is going on. So non-specific interstitial pneumonia is going to divide it into two forms. One is the cellular pattern, and in this cellular pattern we have mild to moderate chronic interstitial inflammation. In this inflammation we are having the lymphocytes and the plasma cells. And one is the fibrosing pattern. In the fibrosing pattern, I have just showed you that there is a interstitial fibrosis and without the temporal heterogeneity, which is the characteristic of the UIP. So non-specific interstitial pneumonia in the cellular pattern can happen in a younger people. Just remember this thing, and the patients that are having the cellular pattern have better outcome than the fibrosing one. Then the second most important thing is the cryptogenic organizing pneumonia. This patient is also going to present you with the cough and the dyspnea like the interstitial pneumonitis, but the radiological features are going to show you the subpleural or peribronchial patchy areas of the airspace consolidation. So here you can see this thing that we are having the fibrotic element, we are having the inflammatory areas. So the normal lung parenchyma cannot be seen. This is your much more congested area, and this is your cellular component, and this is your fibrosing component. I have just told you that these are the replacement with the consolidation. So later on these will be converted into the consolidated patches. Here we have just started with the restrictive disease. Inshallah next time we are going to finish the restrictive ones.